Almost a year and a half ago, a promise of a new series was made. Content started coming out, and then a year ago, nothing. Radio silence. Where did Toasty Banana go? Asked absolutely fucking no one. Now, I could say I was gone because I went to college, changed my major 3 times, lost my tires, got T-boned and had my car totaled, had to get a new car, found an apartment, moved out, and had to buy and build a new PC. But let's be honest. If I said that, it would just be a stupid bitch boy excuse. Because the real reason I didn't upload was because I had to buy Fabric. I'm not even kidding. All right, how did Fabric stop me from uploading for a year? Why was it needed? And how did it even relate to video making exactly? Well, to understand, we have to go back a bit. About a year, actually. So about a year ago, shut up. All right, anyways, interrupting whatever that guy was saying. Our goal for today is to find a village. Also, I spent all day recording those intros for no reason. So it's almost night. So that's great. We're gonna have so much fun. All right, anyways, you can go back to what you're saying. So about a year ago, me and my girlfriend had to move out. So we moved into our first ever apartment, which is great and all, except for the fact that it brought about a pretty big issue for video making. That being that the audio quality in my new recording room is absolutely atrocious. First, according to my parents, because I have no knowledge, intellect, or any positive attributes whatsoever, apparently our windows don't seem to be glazed or set in or whatever, which for one means you can easily hear all the outside noises, like loud-ass cars from outside, and also this happens. Demonstration time! Let me just go over here and lightly finger the window as a demonstration for ya. So yeah, it sounds like that. Now I promise you I'm not hitting the window as loud as you probably think. It's just practically not even set in there at all. Secondly, the walls are thin as fuck. Like, I'm pretty sure they just slapped some cardboard on a frame with no insulation or anything in there and called it a day because the room has the most horrible acoustics I've ever heard. When I did my first recording in here, it sounded like I'm a teeny tiny little man in an actual fucking tin can of beans screaming at the top of my lungs. It sounded omega metallic-y and echoey and overall just pretty terrible. And I didn't want to use it, especially since I'm working on a big video and I didn't want the audio quality to suddenly like tank hardcore 5 minutes in. So that left me with only one option, which was to sound dampen my room. For those who don't know what that means, basically it's a process of using a material, normally some form of insulation, to absorb sound waves and smother them before they're able to reflect off of a hard surface to minimize echoes and other bad sounds in a room. Now to do this, there are a couple of options. One, I could use household items, but that just wouldn't be too effective. Two, I can use cheap foam panels, but since those require adhesive, which would ruin the walls, and I kind of want to get my security deposit back, and they just aren't thick enough to be effective, those also won't cut it. And three, you could use fancy acoustic panels, which work well, but they would have costed like $60 a panel, which for the at least 8 I wanted would have costed nearly $500, which was not something I wanted to drop at the time. I'm a little broke boy, okay? I can't afford to spend $500 on acoustic panels. So this left me kind of in a rut. I had several different options, each that just weren't exactly right for me. So my only thought was to continue researching and hopefully stumble across an option, an answer that would tick all of my boxes. And that's when I found a video by the title, How to Make Your Own Acoustic Panels for $25. And I can't lie, this perked me up a bit. It tickled my little ball sack, if you will. I watched the video, and then a horrible thought crept into my mind. From the darkest recesses, the deepest pits of hell, the sketchiest back alleyways where addicts shoot heroin into their buttholes, this thought came into my mind. And once it did, it was too late. It was over. I had lost. It had infiltrated my mind and there was nothing I could do. That doesn't seem too hard. Motherfucker, what do you mean? And that was the moment that it was decided that I would not upload for a long time. This looks like a suitable diving board. Oh, fuck, it wasn't. It wasn't. That's actually so fucking depressing. Oh my god. Oh, fuck. Shit.
Just give me a casual moment. I'll be right back.
Now I'm gonna try and not spend too much time on explaining the entire process and all of its caveats because although I came across a lot of issues that delayed things more and more, I'm just gonna highlight some funny things that happened and give a brief synopsis so we can get to the main point of this video. So the first step I had was to build a blueprint for this, because being the perfectionistic, overly cautious broke boy I am, I wanted to make sure I spent the least amount of money as possible. So about a week's worth of time went into redrawing a blueprint for my wonderful design, about 4 times, researching where to find the cheapest materials, and exactly planning everything, such as counting the precise amount of screws, wood staples, and wood pieces I would need to buy. Then it was on to the buying phase, which I thought would be quick and easy, but was actually a lot harder and more time consuming than I thought. For example, I needed to buy 1 inch by 2 inch by 8 foot pieces of wood for the frame. And between the two options, I obviously chose to go with the cheapest version. The issue though, was these weren't pressure treated, so nearly every single piece I looked at was warped into a fucking sea. So I had to spend 3 hours over 2 days and went through probably more than 100 pieces of wood to find 15 usable pieces for the project. Next was the building phase, which was both one of the most emotionally and timely demanding. This phase included fun moments like me nearly screwing up literally the first step if it weren't for dear old papa telling me that it was a brain dead idea to screw a 4-inch nail through 2 1-inch thick boards, cause apparently after that I'd be left with our splinters. But don't worry, we solved this issue with letters. Then I had to use a circular saw to cut a straight line through particle board to make strips and came out with a lot of not straight lines. I had to then glue and staple the particle board to the wood frame I created, which hurt my ass, and no, I'm not gonna explain that, I'm gonna leave that to your imagination. And after that, and a few final touches, I was left with 12 wooden frames, 2 less months to my lifespan, and depression. Now the next step was to fill these frames with the magic that made these panels work: insulation. Now, I don't remember what spurred this on, but I decided to measure the frames that I built over the course of like 2 months, and I came to an interesting discovery. The frames that I had actually built was off by a whole inch compared to the design that I had made, which apparently in building an inch is a big deal, but in the bedroom, it's not enough. I spent a good 20 minutes trying to figure out what went wrong. Where did I mess up? Did I measure something wrong before cutting? Did I cut wrong? What happened? And that is again when dear old papa came in clutch and asked a seemingly insignificant question. Did you measure the wood when you bought it? Silly old papa. It was a 1-inch by 2-inch by 8-foot piece of wood. Why would it be anything different? That's just silly to even think about. But to humor him, to show that I value his input, I measured the wood. And I found the issue. I did all of my measurements correct, all of my designing right, except for the fact that I framed all of my measurements off of the basis that a 1-inch by 2-inch by 8-foot piece of wood was going to be exactly that, but no! Apparently it's a 0.75 inch by 1.5 inch by who fucking knows what! All I know is that one of the main things I learned from this project is you can't trust anyone in this world. Apparently Home Depot is like all men in this world will lie about the size of their wood, so that's great! Anyways, that wasn't as much of a big deal as I made it because I could just squish the insulation and it fits in perfectly. So that was that. Moving on. Now that the frames were made and filled in, all I had to do was wrap these bad boys in some fabric, make them nice and pretty, and call it a day. Nice and easy. I mean, the video I watched literally laid it all out for me. They gave me the exact fabric to use, how to cut and wrap it. This project was basically over. Oh no. Yeah, so the fabric he recommended wasn't able to be bought and shipped to the US, which is where I am, so I had to find another alternative. I did some quick research to find out if the type of fabric really matters or not, or if it's just a cosmetic thing, and apparently it does, like a lot. You want an acoustically transparent fabric that easily allows sound to pass through it. That way, instead of the sound being reflected off of the fabric and causing echoes, it actually passes through it and gets smothered by the insulation. Okay, cool. So how do I know what is acoustically transparent fabric? Well, apparently you do that through what is called the breath test, which said that you are supposed to blow on the fabric and you don't want to feel, in quotation marks, any resistance to the air you are exhaling. Equipped with this new knowledge, I headed to the fabric store a couple hours before they closed to quickly find some acoustically transparent fabric and to bring this project to a close. I go to the linen aisle, as that was what was said to be good acoustically transparent fabric, and since I had to hold this big roll of fabric while also pulling it tight and having a hand on the other side to feel for my breath, I had to crouch down a little bit, pinch the roll with my big juicy thighs, almost like I really had to piss and I was trying to hold it in, hold the fabric tight with one hand, put my hand on the other side, and position my face a couple inches away, preparing to give the most delightful blow to this fabric that I have ever given. And I feel nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay, weird. This was said to be a good fabric, but it's okay. It's okay. I'll try something else. I go to the next aisle, crouch down, smother the fabric between my humongous pillowy thighs, stretch the fabric, get my hand and face in position, give it a nice blow. Nothing. Next aisle, pinch blow, nothing. Pinch blow, nothing, 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 nothing. I went down almost every single aisle, testing multiple different fabrics in each, and I felt nothing. I leave a couple hours later, and then the next day I try to figure out what went wrong. And what I discovered was that whenever you do the breath test, you're supposed to basically make out with the fabric, so that was awkward when the employees saw me do that in the store, but you know, anything for content. I'd sell my body on the internet for content. So I go back to the fabric store a couple days later, ready to actually finish it off this time. I go back to the linen aisle, grab a roll, crouch down, suffocate the roll with my luscious, succulent thighs, make the fabric tight, put my hand on the other side of the fabric, do a quick 1-2 glance, make sure there's no, employees around to judge me, put my lips right up onto that fabric and give it a nice little smooch, and I gave it a little breath. And this time, I felt something. Only issue though, it was definitely not little to no resistance to my breath like the article said. Like, I could feel my breath this time, but there was in fact much resistance to my breath. So I try another fabric. Crouch down, grip the fabric with my, mouth-watering, inviting? That's getting weird. Thighs, in between my thighs. I prep the fabric, make a quick glance for my surroundings, blow, and same result. It still feels like there's a lot of resistance to my breath. Am I doing something wrong still, or did the article I read just overstate how much you should feel from this test? I didn't know, and I was starting to overthink it, so after a couple more hours, I left to do more research. And that's what I did, sporadically for about a week. I didn't find any definitive answer about what I should feel, so I went back to the website the video recommended to see if they had any other acoustically transparent fabrics that I could ship here. After that wasn't lending the results I wanted, I turned my attention to finding an actual acoustic fabric seller and just buying from them. But after several more days of research, I didn't find any options that would work. I found options, don't get me wrong. But the issue was that most of them, at a minimum, costed like $25 per square yard. And since I needed about a square yard per panel, that meant my total cost per panel would have skyrocketed to nearly the same price as it would have costed to buy professional panels, which if I wasted months of my life to save practically no money, I would probably just end it. So that couldn't be an option. And now I was stumped. I didn't know if I should just say screw it and buy a random type of fabric and hope it works, spend way too much extra money and ensure it works, or find something else to do. But then when checking back to the Acoustic Fabric website, I found something. I could order a small piece of fabric as a sample for free. So I ordered one with the sole purpose of breathing through it once and comparing how my breath feels through it compared to the materials at the fabric store. And now I just had to wait for it to arrive. And wait, while it got delayed once, and then twice, and wait even longer, and longer, until 2 weeks after I ordered, it finally arrived. I gave it a little breath test, and oh golly gosh, I'll be damned. When I blow into the fabric, I feel resistance to my breath. Almost like there's something fucking there. Wow, oh boy, who would have thought? Thank you so much, internet. Finally, after more than a full month of just trying to buy the fabric, I was able to get a fabric with similar results to the professional one, for only like $4 per square yard, might I add, so that's a dub. I wrapped them and they weren't perfect. Some of the wood was already warped, and after months of being worked on and just sitting there, some warped even more, but overall they looked pretty good in my opinion, and they only costed me around $270, which comes out to be around $22.50 per panel for the 12 I made, so not too bad. But do they actually work? Did they make a difference? Well, I did a little comparison video, so I'm gonna let you decide that for yourself. So yeah, personally, I think they made a big difference, so at least there's that to be happy about. Now, if there's any lessons I learned from this, is to not trust anyone, because even Home Depot will lie to you. This is nice. This is nice. There's a lot to explore, and I think for that exact reason, I shall turn up my rendering distance so that I can... well, shit! Talk about fucking breaking my luck of bad, and now it is good. Just turn up that rendering distance and you find it. Hello. An intruder has come upon your village. I shall take over and make you guys all indentured servants for my gain. Hello, good to meet you. You have no job, you fucker. Dude, this is sick. It's like on the ocean too, making it... You got like seaport travel. I can easily travel around, trade with other villages if I ever find one of those. This is dope. So anyways, don't trust anyone. Just pay the extra money to have a specialist do something for you, because there's a reason they are a specialist. And if I just bought the fucking panels right away, I would have saved 5 months of my time and made actual more progress on videos than I did. So, yeah, hopefully I never make that mistake again. And at this point, you might be wondering, wait, if this only took you 5 months, then why were you gone for more than a year? Well, that's because I'm a YouTuber and I lied to you. But not like that. But please don't leave. I needed a good title, okay? Okay? Don't judge me. In reality, there were a lot of other things that delayed me from uploading in my personal life. Some that I just won't talk about, and some that I will. In fact, some of them I've already talked about. So I started a second channel. It's called Toaster Talks. It's gonna be in the description, and if you like this video or just want to hear more from me, please go over there and subscribe. I'm thinking of making that a place for me to tell dumb stories about dumb things I've done, and there's actually already like 4 or 5 videos up there explaining some more scenarios that happened just in the past year that delayed me from uploading. And there's much more to come. So again, if you like this, please go give those a watch. You'll probably like them. In other news, there's also content coming on the way here. So tomorrow, expect a YouTube short introducing a new series, and then the day after that, the first actual episode of that will be coming out. After that, I'm gonna try and keep those weekly while I work on bigger projects in the background, and no promise on when those are coming. And then the last thing, kind of as a challenge to myself, I'm gonna be streaming every single day of June this year. So if you're seeing this later, that means June 2024. But if you're seeing this when it comes out, that means tomorrow I'm gonna start streaming every single day for 30 days straight. So if that's something you're interested in, I'm gonna link the channel in the description of the video and put the name up on screen. Oh wow! Oh boy! Look at that! I have no experience streaming, so I have no clue how this is gonna go, but why not come on for the ride? So yeah, hope this somewhat makes up for my inactivity for like 1.5 years. Sorry about that. But anyways, handing it off to in-game me now. Yeah, I think that's where I'm gonna end this, so... We have iron armor and a shield. Have all those resources we got, and we finally have a home. And yeah, I think that's about all I got for you today, so bye.